Hello, welcome to the Just Never Know podcast. I'm your host, Ron Frazier, and today we are going to be revisited by my good friend Dana Bergman, author of Less Than 1%. We had him on a year ago, and you can go back and watch that. It's a grasping interview with him, but we wanted to follow up and find out what this year has brought. And welcome, thank you, Kelley.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, Ron. Excited to be here and kind of get everything caught up to where we're at now.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming back on. A lot's happened since you put the book out.
Yeah, there's been quite a bit.
Since the book's release, what has surprised you the most about its reception?
So with the reception of the book, I've actually had contact from people I've never heard of, met. There's a common connection there on how they ended up finding out about the book, and I can tell you about a couple of them that have happened. So, being on Facebook, you get friend requests all the time, sometimes from people you know, sometimes from people you don't know. And typically for me, if I don't know them, I'm not going to accept their friend request because you never know. Everybody gets hacked and stuff. But I had this one lady, she sent me a friend request and I didn't know her, so I didn't accept it. And my oldest sister, Karen, she has a friend from when we lived back in the neighborhood when we were kids, uh, and Lori, and she had contacted me and was telling me that she had bought the book and she really enjoyed it, and that she had loaned it to this lady who was staying with her because she'd fallen upon some really hard times. And when I talk about hard times, in a matter of a 6 month period, she lost her mother, she lost her job, and she lost her significant other. And when I say she lost that person, they ended up splitting up because she found out that he basically took her for everything she had. And so she was actually staying with Lori, and Lori talked to her about my book and gave her the book to read. And she said, I think this will really help you. And so she did read the book and she contacted me. I actually accepted, and just through messaging back and forth, she had told me basically her whole story. And she said that having read my book, that she realized that everybody struggles and everybody goes through things. And she said, if I could make it through what I went through, that she could make it through what she was going through. And, that was encouraging because, I said, whenever I started the whole book thing, that if I knew that it just helped one person, either not go through what I went through getting checked out for aneurysms, or if it brought them closer to God. This lady, she definitely has a relationship with God. And, through all this stuff, I kind of kept tabs on her and things. And I will say that she has powered through. She has a job that she really likes. She wasn't real happy with the job she had had. She has a job she really likes now. She met somebody and they're actually married at this point. So it sounds like it's
Wow.
really been a good turn of events for her in the last year. And super super nice girl, super grounded, religious, and so really happy about that one.
Those are the stories that resonate with you,
Yeah.
Uh, and I know that's not the other one. I've had people actually contact me as well.
Oh,
Um, but there's another story. Did somebody contact you?
the other one was another friend request on Facebook from a girl. I didn't know her. It turns out we have a common friend, Bobby Bernardo from my hometown. Known him since kindergarten, and he was a baseball player, and he got drafted back in the day. And whenever I believe he went to his single A team out in California, they were a host family for him, and so that's how those two met. And they were talking, they still are in connection with each other to this day. And he had told her about the book, And, whenever finally accepted her friend request and through the same thing, talking on Messenger, she let me know that Bob had mentioned the book to her and she bought it. And she said that she was on a long flight. And she said she read the book from cover to cover on the flight. And she said when she got to the ending of the book that she was uh, reading it, but she said that she had tears streaming down her face. And there was a gentleman sitting next to her, and he asked her if she was okay. And she said that yes, she was. And she just said that the book was really touching her and really moving her. And it just brought out a lot of emotions. But she said she read it from cover to cover on the flight. Now I don't know how long the flight was, but that's kind of a very cool story, and it's nice to know that it had that kind of an effect on somebody, that it moved them that much emotionally.
That is how it is, though. Once I started reading the book, I couldn't put it down.
Yeah, I've had a friend of mine, Chuck, from the book. I sent him a copy of it, and he told me that when he got it delivered to his house, that he said he read. There's 35 chapters. He said he sat down, he started reading it, and he read 32 chapters, and he realized he had to go to work in a few hours. So he said he took a nap. He worked that day, and then he finished it up when he got home from work. And there's been others. I know that. I have family members that have read the book, and they basically said the same thing. I started reading it, and I couldn't put it down. I read it basically from cover to cover. So, and I think, for people that know me, that probably is a little bit easier for somebody to do, because most of them, and I think I even asked you, when you're reading the book, do you hear my voice? And you said, yeah, I can hear you. It just basically telling me the story. And it's been good that way. I think that with anybody that I mentioned in the book or was in the book, I basically signed a copy for them and sent it to them, and hoping, that they would share the book. And a lot of people have. I know that the Dolphin, his mom, gave her a book, and she's loaned it out to several people who have read the book, and they all enjoyed the book and said it was really a powerful story.
Oh yeah, yeah. Have you come across any opportunities or experiences since the book?
Opportunities. So there's a lot of opportunities when you publish a book. People
And I
come.
mean, it could be just opportunities, even changing somebody's life.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Opportunities on all aspects.
yeah. Okay, yeah. So as far as changing people's lives, so I pray on a very regular basis, and there's a certain group of my friends that I know are struggling with certain things, and I've been praying for these guys for over a decade. Hoping that God could reach them and help them out with what they struggle with. And I know that there's four guys, and two of the four guys have contacted me recently and have kind of turned a page um, in their struggle. One of them was contacted by me by mistake. I have two friends that have the same first name, and their last name starts with the same initial. And me being me, I have them both entered in my phone with their first name and last initial, and ended up calling them by mistake. And I could tell when I found out I had the wrong one. I could tell right away that there was a difference in his voice. It was much lighter. His sense of humor was back, and we chatted for a little bit. And he basically let me know that he had been going through a struggle for 10 plus years. And um, he said he just finally had a moment uh, where he took a hard look at himself and realized, that he had a lot to do with a lot of his struggles, if not everything. And, that he was doing much better. He was happy again. Life was good again. And so, that was a really nice thing. Sent him a copy of the book. I don't think he got his book. I'm not sure where that thing ended up. I sent it to the address he sent me, but he said he never got it. Um, and then the other one was a friend of mine. I sent him a book, and I know that he got the book. And we just recently talked, and I told him about the first podcast and to check it out and let me know what he thought about it. But he told me that he appreciates my support, and that he said he feels like strength for me whenever we talk. And he said he wants to get to where I'm at. And I told him, I said, it's a one day at a time thing. And I said, you need to start building your relationship with God. But the other night we were talking about, um, he said he wasn't sure how to do it. And I go to a men's group on Thursday nights, and it was weird because I was trying to figure out how I was going to tell him about, how how to get to where we all want to end up. Everybody gets to live forever. It's just a matter of where you're going to finish out forever at. And it was weird. I go to this group, and it's a Bible study group, and the gentleman who was leading it that night, he actually gave me my answer. And it's weird, how, I call those God moments. Um, I wasn't sure how I was going to go about telling him what to do or where to go or how to even start on the journey. And, you know, uh, George at my group, George is the one that basically gave me that answer. And it's pretty cool, because up to going to the group that night, I wasn't really sure how I was going to attack it. But now I have a plan, and I know which way to send them.
Now you've been becoming more involved with your church and kind of like almost doing your own little mini outreach yourself.
Yeah, I mean, we're all here to help people find their way to God. That's what He wants from us. I told a friend of mine that I was just talking about. The hardest part for me, and I think for a guy like him, is the submission part. Um, we're not programmed that way to submit, and I think that just growing up in America, I think that's part of being an American. We don't give up on anything. We don't submit to anybody or anything, and but submitting to God is it's definitely needed to have the type of relationship you need with God, so God can basically um, fill you with what you need to be able to accomplish what He wants you to accomplish for Him. So that's
Have you been seeing more personal growth as well as you're doing this?
for myself.
Yeah, even maybe subconsciously sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. It's quite a journey, and I talked at the men's group. We were asking, do you have to be saved first? Do you have to be saved first to have a relationship with God? And I just talked about, it involved baptism and everything else like that, and basically through the conversation, I don't believe that you have to be saved first to have a relationship with God. I think that there's always a moment that a person has that sets them on that path. One of the guys said, nobody seeks God while they're living their carnal life. And I believe that's true. And I think that sometimes, like possibly for me, that when I was in that moment, where I thought that was it, I think that was my moment for me to um, move past that and start realize that God's real, and we all need to have a relationship with God. Because I talked about when I realized I was in danger, and I said, I think I said on your podcast the first time that when you're sitting on the edge of the darkness looking into it, trying to come to grips with the end of your own mortality, it's a spooky place to be. And then reflecting back on it now, I think for me it was a spooky place to be, because I knew I wasn't right with God. And, I,
That probably scared you more than dying.
yeah, because it's like, I don't want to spend my eternity in misery. Living in this world is, misery enough. And I don't want to spend eternity in worse misery than what this place has to offer.
Right.
It was a big awakening for me in that sense. So, um, you know, um, but I think everybody has to get to that point where, and I think lots of times to get to that point, a person has to be fully, you know, broke down to the point where you realize that you only have one way. Um, and you just have to start building that relationship and leaning on God to get you through the tough times. And when you do see that He does do that, it's a lot easier to get that relationship going and to proceed with it. You know, my pastor at my church, Pastor Steve, he uh, he tells me when he has a God moment, he always says, "I see you, I see you," and I told him, I said, "I've stolen that," and I'll give you a good example of that. So I talked about on the first podcast that I try to look for the good in every day, and some days it's something very very small, but I try to grab onto that and hold on to it. I was at work one day just having not a good day, and uh, went out, got my truck, started up my truck, and basically looked up and I said, "Not today, huh?" And so I was driving home and not in a good mood. And I pulled into my development and I came around the first corner and I came around the second corner. And I see this man and this woman who are trying to get uh, I wouldn't call it a motorcycle. I would call it more of a scooter up into the bed of a truck for transport. And they had a shorter board, which was making the grade pretty steep. And they had a strap that went from her around the back end of the ride to his hand, and they were taking a run at it. When they hit it, the board kind of slid forward. They had the thing most of the way up the board, and then they lost momentum, and it started to roll back, and it was kind of leaning towards her. And I thought, I need to go give that guy a hand so nobody gets hurt. And pulled over in the truck. I got her on. I said, "Hey, can you use a hand?" And he's like, "Sure." He goes, "If you don't mind." I said, "I don't mind." I said, "I want to see anybody get hurt." And, first try between he and I, we got it right up the board, right in the bed of the truck. I held it while he strapped it down and we shut the tailgate. And, he said to me, he goes, "Are you an angel?" And I said, "No." I said, "I just like to help people out." I said, "I want to see anybody get hurt." And, got back in my truck and was driving the last little bit to the house. And I was like, "I see you, I basically taunted him saying, "Not today, huh?" And, for me, um, I like to help people. And so one of the weird things about that was like for the next 3 days, I got to help somebody out in a situation, in one way or another that, for me, that's what makes me feel good is knowing that I can help somebody out as small as that might seem. That was nice because I didn't think anything good was going to come out of it if they took another run at it. So, there's all those moments like that.
Yeah. Now, your book's done really well. It's changing lives. Uh, I got a question though. It's kind of now that after you wrote it, is there anything that you would have changed, even though everybody loves it and gives you great? Is there anything that you would maybe, if you rewrote it, that you would do something different?
Yeah, I did get feedback from one of the guys I used to work with. He bought it and he said it just kind of lost him. And I think that at the beginning of the book, when I'm talking about how I got into hunting and my love of the outdoors and all that stuff, I think that I might have shortened that whole process up. Um, I did want to kind of build it to get to the point where the accident happened, but you know, um, I think that maybe I dwelled on a little bit too much and all the trips and stuff like that. I probably could have shortened that up and got a little bit more into the meat of it, as you had said on the first podcast, a little bit sooner. And then the other thing I think is, for me, I was trying to find somebody to help me out and just really couldn't find anybody to help me out. And I think it would have been maybe even better if I could have found somebody who has possibly written a few books and could have gave me some more direction um, on how I went about writing it. So like for me, the book is more of like a memoir of, my whole progression through to hunting elk and Montana trips and just bow hunting altogether. Um, and like, I've talked with you and others that I know that, you could hear me basically telling you the story. And I think that for people who don't know me, I think that, it could be like, you know, kind of lukewarm on it and stuff like that. So, and I told the gentleman who told me that, I kind of lost him on it. I told him I appreciated that feedback because I'm open to any and all feedback on it. And, you know, it is what it is. Like I said, I'm not an author. That was a huge undertaking for me at the time, based upon what I had going on at work and stuff like that. And so I think the fact that I even finished it for me was like, I was like, well, I actually did that, and it's actually published. But yeah, could it be better? Sure, it could be better. I did share a copy of it with a guy who is an outdoor personality. Um, he's a guide up in Alaska, and I love his shows. He's been doing it since he was a teenager, and he he hunts moose, caribou, grizzly bears, stuff like that. And he's been filming this stuff since he was a teenager. And I believe that he's probably in his 40s, married man, got kids. And But one of the things that I see all the time is even when he's by himself in his tent, he's always got a camera on himself, and I see that he reads a lot. And so I contacted him through email, and I said, I see that you read a lot. I said, I have a book that I wrote, and, be interested in sending you a copy. Maybe you could read it and someday give me feedback on it. And so he said, sure. I sent him a copy of it. And, he did tell me, he says, if or when I ever read it, he says, I'll give you feedback on it. But he says, he gets a lot of books sent to him, and he said he may never even read it. So, but, I think based upon what he does for a living and the whole basis of the story and stuff like that, I think that he would like it because he's a religious man, and I think that that's very obvious in the way that he does his shows that he's putting out. One of them was "We Saw Jesus" was the name of it, and then another one he literally put his life on the line to save one of his clients who was getting swept away in a river. And that moment whenever that happened, he got a hold of his client, and his client was obviously frantic, an older gentleman, and the current was very, very strong. And he said he was totally committed to either saving the guy or dying with the guy. And in the Bible it says that there's no greater love than to sacrifice your life for a friend. And but he was willing to do it for a client. And he said that I was getting to the point where he felt like he was just about out of gas and out of breath, and his foot hit a gravel bar, and he was able to pull that guy out and got out, and nothing happened. I mean, they were a little bit cold and wet and had all that stuff to deal with in the situation, but he saved the guy's life. So,
Well, it's been a year. Has there been any valuable lessons you might have learned? Are you still learning about the whole publishing perspective?
what I've learned about it is that you know um, everybody wants money. Um, I get phone calls, and I still get phone calls. People want me to go to book shows in England, and they'd promote my book there for me, and New York City, Los Angeles, and stuff like that. But I don't, I don't necessarily have the time and the money to be flying all over the place and trying to promote my book. Um, and so with the publishing process, um, you know, I think that there's a lot of people that contact you. Like I've had people who want me to come on like TV shows and stuff like that, but I have to pay for that, to promote my book. And so I think everybody wants a little bit of money, and it's a way to promote the book, and I still can say that I haven't really like outright even tried to promote the book or anything like that. Whatever sales I have just been through word of mouth, and I know that people are still. I'm still having some trickle sales and stuff like that, and it's not been any kind of major windfall. And when I did it, my whole point was is that if it just helped one person, it was worth it. And I already know that it's done that. So for me, it's a success. But I've had some different ideas of ways I could possibly get people to Google it, maybe look it up. One of them is just wear a shirt that has less than 1% symbols on it. So um, that's one of the ideas I've had. And then the other thing I thought, if I'm going to spend money on it, Columbus is a big city and it's growing in size at a very, very fast rate. And, there's always signs up, rent this billboard, and I thought, geez, even if I just rented a billboard for, a month and just said Google, and had the less than 1% symbols up there, it might spur some more sales or something like that. So I have those ideas. So far, I haven't acted through on any of them, but you know, we're expecting our first grandchild. It's
Congratulations.
pretty excited. It's a boy whose name is going to be Lane Scott. So very excited to meet him in person. I said uh, we don't physically have him with us as far as being born, but we're already grandparents and very excited about that. Very excited to meet him. And I said that, for me, my goal for myself with him is to help him be a better person and a better man than I've been myself. And I think through life lessons and stuff like that, that it should be something I should be able to do, and helping my daughter and my son-in-law guide him in the way that he needs to go, and have that relationship with God right from the get-go.
Oh, that's wonderful, man. Oh, great. Well, you'll be a great mentor as well. And I know you raised a great family. Your daughters are well brought up by you. You've done a great job, and I'm sure she picked a wonderful husband.
Yeah. Cam is he's a good dude, and he's a hard worker, and I really enjoy spending time with him. He and I we hunt together, so we've had quite a few experiences. And I remember one year when we went out to Montana elk hunting, we were sleeping on a flatbed trailer underneath the stars in our sleeping bags, and it was probably 30 some degrees, and the wind was howling, and it was time to get up, but we both kind of woke up ahead of time. And you know, uh, laying on our backs, there was meteor showers and stuff like that. Enjoying it. The stars out there just a little bit closer, like I talk about in the book, and so it's a little bit more spectacular. But I remember looking over at him, and I could see one eyeball and a nose, sticking out of his sleeping bag, and it was basically the same. We just started laughing at each other, and the other guy that was with us, he was sleeping in the vehicle, and he said, "I don't know what was going on out there." He says, "But I could definitely hear you two guys laughing out there." And it was cracking him up hearing us laugh out there. But just moments like that, freezing cold and not really that comfortable laying on a hardwood surface all night. But we were having a good time and just cracking up at the whole situation.
So you definitely got a son in the whole
Yeah,
deal. That's
yeah.
awesome. That's awesome. Congratulations. That's wonderful. Future hunter, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he's going to be predisposed to that. And I said, I don't have any sons. I do have a son-in-law, but now I got a grandson. And I said, I definitely have somebody I can give all my stuff to. So
That's wonderful, man.
that's a big burden. I'm sure that'll help my wife out, because she won't have to worry about what to do with it all.
Oh gosh. Is there anything else we could cover that you'd like to pass and leave on?
I just, I would encourage everybody to have a relationship with God, and His Son. That's the way that we all need to go. And the Bible is a great book. It's one of the greatest instruction manuals ever produced, if not the greatest one, I would say. And it tells us how to live our lives, and what we need to do to go to heaven. So I would encourage everybody to read the Bible and study the Bible. I'm still, I go to my study group, and I see the knowledge that the men that go there have with it, and I realize that I'm still in the amateur phase, but I continue to work at it, and be kind to each other. We never know what somebody's going through. And like I said before, it's easy to get caught up in the muck and the mire of this world, and drag you down and lose focus that every day is a true blessing, because it's not guaranteed that you're going to be here tomorrow. And, be, you know, work on relationships that you have that are falling apart or have fallen apart to try and rebuild them again. It would be a terrible thing to go to the grave with regrets on relationships that should be strong relationships. So work on that stuff. Try to be a better person, a better Christian all the time, and get out and enjoy life and see it for what it really is. It's really a wondrous thing, God's creation. And everything, a lot of people go to the city, and that's where they go to have their enjoyment and fun. For me, I go to the woods, to the mountains, and that's where I enjoy God's creation and feel like I'm closest with Him. So, I would just tell everybody be kind, be nice, and help each other out.
You're still inspiring. Changing the world, not let the world change you, Kel. I appreciate it, buddy.
Sure.
And I'm really happy about your new title, Grandpapa.
Me too. It's been a while coming, and I'm looking forward to being a big part of Lane's life and helping to guide him in the right direction. And I'm sure Presley and Cam are going to do a great job with that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you getting back together.
Yeah.
It's always great to talk to you on the phone, but I just wanted everybody to get an update. It's been a year since the book's been published. Well, since we've done the last podcast, and I'll have the link in the bottom. They can watch the original, and appreciate it. Like it, comment, share it. It's very inspirational. It could change somebody's life. Subscribe, like. Love you, Kelley. Have a great day, my man.
Yep, I love you too, man.
All right, everybody. Take care. Have a great weekend. Stay warm.
Yes, stay warm.
Stay on.